At my daughter's birthday, my ex-wife showed up with my brother. They're engaged now. My family welcomed them with open arms. My daughter cried, so I left and took every college fund dollar I'd set aside for my nibblings. They can ask Uncle Dad. Hey Reddit, never thought I'd be posting here, but after what happened at my daughter's birthday party last weekend, I need to get this off my chest and figure out if I'm the asshole everyone's claiming I am. I'm 37 male, divorced for 3 years from my ex-wife Claire, 35 female. We have one daughter together, Emma, who just turned 10. The divorce was brutal, not because of custody battles or asset division, but because of how it happened. Claire cheated on me with my younger brother Ryan, 34 male, and I only found out when she got pregnant and had to come clean because the timeline didn't match up with when we'd been intimate. Yeah, that kind of betrayal. For context, Ryan and I used to be close. Not best friends or anything, but solid brothers who had each other's backs. He was the charming one, the guy everyone gravitated toward at parties. I was the responsible one, the one who got a steady job, bought a house, started a family. Classic dynamic, right? When Claire and I started having problems, stress from work, new baby, the usual marriage strain, Ryan was around a lot. He'd come over for dinner, help with projects around the house, play with Emma when she was a toddler. I actually appreciated it at the time. Thought it was nice having family support. Turns out he was supporting my wife right into bed. The affair lasted about 8 months before Claire's stomach bug turned into morning sickness. She tried to pass the baby off as mine initially, but I'm not an idiot. We hadn't been intimate in months because of the stress and arguments. When I pushed for the truth, it all came out. The late-night texts, the emergency visits to Ryan's apartment, the lies about girls' nights and work events. She was 7 weeks pregnant with my brother's child. I filed for divorce immediately. We settled on joint custody, alternating weeks with Emma, all major decisions made together. I paid child support and covered half of Emma's expenses, kept things civil for our daughter's sake, even though seeing Claire at pickups made me want to scream. The baby, a boy they named Connor, was born 5 months after our divorce finalized. I've never met him. That's Claire's kid with Ryan, not my responsibility or concern. Emma has, obviously, since Connor is technically her half-brother. She's confused about the whole thing, which I get. It's a lot for a kid to process. But here's where it gets complicated with my family. My parents divorced when Ryan and I were teenagers. Dad remarried and moved to Florida, and we see him maybe twice a year. Mom, though, she lives 20 minutes away and has always been heavily involved in our lives. After the divorce, I expected her to be furious with Ryan. He slept with his brother's wife, destroyed our family, got her pregnant while we were still married. Pretty clear-cut villain, right? Wrong. Mom's response was that these things happen, and we all needed to move forward as a family. She never once acknowledged what Ryan did as wrong, just kept pushing for us to reconcile, to let bygones be bygones, to think about Emma and how she needs her uncle in her life. I told her I'd think about Emma's needs when everyone else started thinking about mine. Didn't go over well. My sisters, I have 2, Jessica, 40 female, and Michelle, 32 female, were slightly better, but not by much. Jessica gave Ryan a token scolding, but then moved on to planning family gatherings where everyone pretended nothing happened. Michelle actually told me I was holding a grudge and needed to work on forgiveness for my own mental health. Both my sisters have kids. Jessica has 3, Tyler, 15 male, Sophia, 12 female, and Liam, 8 male. Michelle has 2, Olivia, 6 female, and Noah, 4 male. 5 nibblings total that I've always been close with. I'm the cool uncle who takes them to baseball games, helps with science projects, remembers their birthdays with actual thoughtful gifts instead of generic gift cards. And here's the part that's relevant. I've been funding 529 college savings accounts for all 5 of them since they were born. For those who don't know, a 529 is a tax-advantaged savings plan for education expenses. I set one up for each nibbling shortly after they were born and have been contributing $200 per month per kid for years. Tyler's account has about $38,000 in it. Sophia's has around $30,000. The younger kids have less, but it adds up. Combined, I've put roughly $120,000 into these accounts over the years. My sisters know about these accounts. It's not a secret. I've mentioned them during family discussions about college planning, talked about investment strategies, even showed Jessica the statements once when she asked how they worked. They appreciate it, or at least they did, and have thanked me multiple times for being so generous with their kids' futures. I never set one up for Connor. Why would I? He's not my nephew. He's my ex-wife's child with my brother, the brother who destroyed my marriage. Now let's get to last weekend. Emma's birthday party was supposed to be simple. Small gathering at my house. Just close family and a couple of her school friends. I spent days planning it, getting her favorite foods, decorating the backyard with her current obsession, some anime I don't fully understand but pretend to care about, and making sure everything would be perfect for her. My sisters confirmed they'd be there with the kids. Mom said she was coming. Dad RSVP'd no because Florida. All pretty standard. What wasn't standard was Claire and Ryan showing up together. I was in the kitchen grabbing more ice when the doorbell rang around 2 p.m. Emma ran to get it, and I heard her excited voice calling, "Mommy!" from the front door. Made sense. Claire and I had agreed she could stop by briefly to give Emma her present and say happy birthday, even though it was my custody week. But then I heard a second voice, a male voice I recognized immediately. I walked into the living room to find Claire and Ryan standing in my entryway, together. Claire was holding a wrapped present, and Ryan had his arm around her waist. That's when I noticed it. A diamond ring on Claire's left hand that definitely wasn't there during last week's pickup. "Surprise!" Claire said, her voice way too cheerful. "We wanted to tell Emma together. We're engaged!" Emma's face fell, like, completely crumpled. This kid who'd been bouncing off the walls with excitement 30 seconds ago suddenly looked like someone had kicked her puppy. Her eyes filled with tears, and she looked at me with this expression of complete betrayal and confusion. I was frozen. Literally couldn't move or speak for a few seconds, while my brain processed what was happening. My ex-wife and my brother, at my daughter's birthday party, announcing their engagement, in my house. That's when Mom came up behind me. I didn't even know she'd arrived. "Oh, how wonderful!" she exclaimed, pushing past me to hug both of them. "Congratulations!" "Emma, isn't this exciting? Your mom and Uncle Ryan are getting married." Emma burst into tears and ran upstairs. I found my voice. "What the hell are you doing here, Ryan?" He had the audacity to look hurt. "It's Emma's birthday. We wanted to celebrate as a family and share our good news. Get out." "Come on, man. Get out." Claire stepped forward. "You're making a scene in front of Emma's friends." She gestured to the backyard, where several of Emma's classmates were watching through the sliding glass door. "Can we please just—" "You're engaged," I said, my voice shaking. "You're engaged to my brother, and you thought my daughter's birthday party was the appropriate time to announce it?" "We thought Emma should know in a happy setting," Claire said, "surrounded by people who love her." Jessica appeared in the kitchen doorway with Michelle right behind her. Both of them already knew. I could tell by their faces, that awkward, guilty expression people get when they're in on a secret. "You knew about this," I said, looking at my sisters. "Ryan told us a few days ago," Jessica admitted. "We thought it would be nice for them to share the news at a family gathering." "This isn't a family gathering. This is my daughter's birthday party, at my house, that I'm hosting because it's my custody week." Michelle sighed like I was being difficult. "Why do you have to make everything so dramatic? They're happy. Can't you just be happy for them?" I looked around at my family. Mom was still cooing over Claire's ring. My sisters were treating me like the problem. Ryan had this smug expression like he'd won something. And somewhere upstairs, my daughter was crying on what should have been one of her happiest days. "Everyone out," I said quietly. "Party's over. Get out of my house." "You can't be serious," Mom said. "It's Emma's birthday. And you just ruined it. All of you. Out. Now." I spent the next hour salvaging what I could. Apologized to Emma's friends' parents as they picked their kids up early. Ordered Emma's favorite pizza. Sat with her on her bed while she cried and asked me questions I didn't have good answers for. "Why does everyone like Ryan more than you?" she asked at one point. That one broke me, but I kept it together for her sake. Told her that sometimes adults make choices that don't make sense, and that just because people make bad choices doesn't mean she did anything wrong. Assured her that her birthday wasn't ruined, we'd celebrate properly tomorrow, and that I loved her more than anything in the world. After I got Emma settled with a movie and her presents, I went downstairs to clean up the disaster of my backyard. That's when I started thinking about those college funds. $120,000. That's how much I'd invested in my sister's kids' futures. Kids whose mothers had just sided with the man who destroyed my marriage. Kids whose grandmother couldn't even acknowledge that what happened to me was wrong. Kids who would grow up thinking Uncle Ryan, who'd betrayed his brother, had an affair with his sister-in-law, and got her pregnant, was a great guy who deserved their respect. I thought about Tyler, who'd be applying to colleges in 3 years. About the nice state school he'd probably choose, the one that costs $30,000 a year for tuition alone. About how Jessica had mentioned just last month how grateful she was that I was taking care of it, so they wouldn't have to worry. I thought about Sophia's dreams of becoming a veterinarian, about the expensive programs she'd need to attend, about how Michelle had literally said thank God for Uncle Brody when discussing college planning at Christmas. They'd all counted on this money, planned their lives around it, and they'd just shown me exactly how little they valued me compared to Ryan. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. Not the hot, explosive anger from earlier. The cold, calculating kind that makes you do things you might not normally do. Around 10 p.m. after Emma was asleep, I pulled up the 529 account websites on my laptop. Here's something most people don't know about 529 plans. The account owner, me, can change the beneficiary at any time to anyone, including themselves. I could redirect all those funds to Emma's account, or I could withdraw them entirely, pay the taxes and penalty, and do whatever I wanted with the money. I sat there for an hour, staring at those account balances, thinking about every birthday party, every Christmas, every Sunday dinner where I'd smiled and played along while my family minimized what Ryan had done to me. Every time I'd been told to move on, to forgive, to think about the family. At 11:17 p.m., I started making changes. Tyler's account, change beneficiary to Emma Johnson. Confirm Sophia's account, change beneficiary to Emma Johnson. Confirm Liam's account, change beneficiary to Emma Johnson. Confirm Olivia's account, change beneficiary to Emma Johnson. Confirm Noah's account, change beneficiary to Emma Johnson. Confirm it took maybe 15 minutes total. 5 clicks, 5 confirmations, and suddenly all that money, every dollar I'd carefully saved and invested over the years, belonged to my daughter's education fund instead of my nibblings. Emma's 529 account, which already had about $45,000 in it from my regular contributions, now had approximately $165,000. Enough to cover 4 years at a good state school with money left over for graduate school if she wanted it. I closed my laptop, poured myself a whiskey, and went to bed. The next morning, I sent a group text to my mom and both sisters. After yesterday's events, I've decided to redirect the college funds I'd set up for Tyler, Sophia, Liam, Olivia, and Noah. All 5 accounts have been moved to Emma's 529. Going forward, if your kids need college money, they can ask Uncle Dad. Then I turned off my phone and took Emma to breakfast. The fallout was immediate and nuclear. By the time I turned my phone back on around 2 p.m., I had 47 missed calls and 89 text messages. Most from Jessica and Michelle, but several from Mom and even a few from Claire and Ryan. Apparently, this was somehow their business now. Jessica's text started reasonable and deteriorated rapidly. Please call me. We need to talk about this. Brody, that money is for Tyler's education. You can't just take it away. Do you have any idea how this affects our college planning? Tyler's counting on that money. You're being vindictive and cruel to children who did nothing to you. Call me right now. Michelle's were similar, but more dramatic. I can't believe you do this to Olivia and Noah. They're 4 and 6. This is financial abuse. You're punishing children for adult problems. Mom is devastated. How could you do this to her? You need to fix this immediately, or I'm getting a lawyer. That last one made me laugh. A lawyer for what? They weren't account holders. They had no legal claim to money I'd voluntarily contributed to accounts I owned and controlled. But sure, waste your money on a lawyer who'll tell you the same thing. Mom's messages were predictably guilt-focused. Those babies are counting on you. How can you take away their futures? This isn't who you are, Brody. You're better than this. Please reconsider. Do it for the kids, if not for your sisters. Ryan feels terrible about what happened yesterday. Can't you find it in your heart to forgive? Oh, Ryan feels terrible. How nice for Ryan. But the texts from Claire and Ryan? Those were special. Claire, this is incredibly immature. Emma told me what you did, and she's confused about why you'd hurt her cousins. You're teaching her that revenge is acceptable. Ryan, we need to have an adult conversation about this. What you're doing affects the whole family. Ryan, I get that you're angry, but taking money from kids? That's low, even for you. Even for me. As if I was the one who'd been acting badly this whole time. I didn't respond to any of them. Just turned my phone back off and enjoyed the rest of the day with Emma. That evening, Jessica showed up at my door. I saw her car pull up and seriously considered not answering. But I knew she'd just keep coming back, so I let her in. Are you out of your mind? She started immediately, not even saying hello. Tyler is applying to colleges next year. We've been planning his whole financial aid package around that 529 account. Then I guess you'll need a new plan, I said calmly. Brody, I'm serious. We can't afford to send him to school without that money. You know we can't. Sure you can. Student loans exist, scholarships exist, jobs exist, the same options available to everyone else whose uncle doesn't fund their education. This isn't fair to him. He didn't do anything wrong. Neither did I said. But somehow, I'm the one whose family showed up to my daughter's birthday party to announce his ex-wife and brother's engagement. I'm the one whose mother couldn't even acknowledge that what happened to me was wrong. I'm the one whose sisters think I should just get over it and be happy that my brother is marrying the woman who cheated on me with him while we were married. Jessica's face crumpled a bit. We were trying to move past it. For the family's sake. No, you were trying to make it easier for yourselves. You didn't want to deal with the awkwardness of taking sides, so you decided I should just absorb the betrayal and smile about it. Well, I'm done absorbing things for the family's sake. What about the kids? They love you. Tyler asks about you all the time. That one stung, but I pushed through it. Then Tyler can keep a relationship with me that isn't based on money. If he wants to call, text, visit, great. But I'm not bankrolling his future while his mother sides with the guy who destroyed mine. You're being cruel. I'm being fair. I gave your son $38,000 over 15 years. That's generous. I'm under no obligation to continue that generosity when you and Michelle have made it clear where your loyalties lie. We argued for another 20 minutes before she left, slamming my door hard enough to rattle the frame. After she drove away, I poured another whiskey and tried to not feel guilty about the whole thing. But here's the truth. I didn't feel that guilty. Conflicted? Sure. Sad about potentially losing relationships with my nibblings? Absolutely. But guilty about the actual decision to redirect that money? Not really. The week continued in much the same pattern. Michelle showed up on Tuesday, crying about how I was ruining Olivia's future. Mom called daily, each conversation more manipulative than the last. Even my dad, who I barely talked to, sent me an email suggesting I was overreacting and should think about the children. The children. Everyone kept talking about the children. Nobody mentioned my child. Nobody acknowledged that Emma had cried herself to sleep after her birthday party. Nobody seemed to care that she'd asked me, with tears streaming down her face, why her whole family liked her uncle better than her daddy. On Thursday, Ryan sent me a long text. This is what it said. I know I screwed up. I know what Claire and I did was wrong. But I love her, man. And we're trying to build a life together. Can't you see past your anger for long enough to let us be happy? The engagement announcement was bad timing. I admit that. But this thing with the college funds is next level. You're punishing kids who literally have nothing to do with our situation. Jessica called me crying because she doesn't know how they're going to afford Tyler's education now. Michelle is panicking about Olivia and Noah's future. Is this really who you want to be? The uncle who takes away kids' opportunities because he's mad at their parents? I'm asking you, brother to brother, please reconsider. Fix this. Do it for them if you can't do it for me. I stared at that text for a long time. Thought about responding with something mature and measured. But then I remembered him standing in my living room with his arm around my ex-wife, looking smug as hell while my daughter cried upstairs. So I typed, "Not your brother, and they can ask Uncle Dad for college money." Then I blocked his number. The next escalation came Friday evening, when the entire extended family got involved. I started getting calls and texts from aunts, uncles, cousins I barely talked to. Everyone with an opinion about how I was destroying the family over pride and stubbornness. My mom had apparently called everyone to explain her version of events, which painted me as a vindictive monster who'd stolen money from innocent children out of spite. The texts were all variations of the same theme. Family is everything. Don't let anger destroy these relationships. Those kids need you. Please reconsider. This isn't what your grandmother would have wanted. She passed away 5 years ago and has nothing to do with this. But sure, weaponize her memory. You're better than this. The implication in all of them was clear. I was the problem. Not Ryan for sleeping with my wife. Not Claire for cheating while we were married. Not my mom and sisters for welcoming my betrayers with open arms. Me, for having the audacity to stop funding college accounts for kids whose parents actively chose sides against me. I turned my phone off entirely for the weekend and took Emma to an amusement park 3 hours away. We rode roller coasters, ate overpriced theme park food, and stayed in a hotel with a pool where she could swim and forget about family drama for a while. She didn't mention Ryan, Claire, or the birthday party once. We just had fun together, the way her birthday weekend should have been from the start. Sunday evening, when we got back home, I finally turned my phone on again. The messages had continued to pile up, but there was one that made me stop cold. It was from Tyler, my nephew, the 15-year-old whose college fund I'd just emptied. Uncle Brody, I don't really understand what's happening with everyone right now. Mom is really upset and won't tell me why. She keeps crying and arguing with Aunt Michelle on the phone. Did I do something wrong? Can we talk? My chest got tight reading that. Tyler was a good kid. Respectful, hardworking, genuinely kind to Emma when they hung out. He didn't deserve to be caught in the middle of this. I texted him back. You didn't do anything wrong. There's some adult stuff happening right now that's complicated. Nothing to do with you. If you want to hang out sometime, just you and me, I'd like that. He responded immediately. Okay, that sounds good. I miss hanging out with you. Miss you too, buddy. And that was it. A simple human conversation that reminded me these kids, my nibblings, were real people with feelings who didn't ask to be part of this mess. But here's the thing. Feeling bad for them didn't change the fundamental issue. Their mothers had chosen to support Ryan and Claire. Their grandmother had chosen to prioritize avoiding awkwardness over acknowledging my pain. The entire family structure had aligned against me, and I was supposed to just keep paying for the privilege of being disrespected. I was done with that. On Monday, I got a call from an unknown number. Usually I don't answer those, but something made me pick up. Mr. Johnson? This is Patricia Reynolds. I'm an attorney representing Jessica and Michelle Johnson in a family matter. Oh, for fuck's sake. They'd actually gotten a lawyer. Okay, I said carefully. My clients are concerned about certain financial accounts that they believe were set up for the benefit of their children. They've asked me to discuss the possibility of resolving this matter without litigation. The 529 accounts belong to me, I said. I'm the account owner. I can designate whoever I want as beneficiary, which I did, my daughter. There's no legal issue here. I understand your position, Mr. Johnson. However, my clients believe there was an implied agreement that these funds would be used for their children's education. They've made financial decisions based on that assumption. Implied agreement? I almost laughed. I was generous with my money. That generosity wasn't a contract. And when my family decided to side with my ex-wife and my brother, who had an affair during my marriage, my generosity ended. That's not illegal. There was a pause. I see. Would you be willing to meet with my clients to discuss a compromise? No. Tell your clients they wasted their money hiring you. I hung up and immediately called my own lawyer, the one who'd handled my divorce. Explained the situation. He laughed. They don't have a case, he confirmed. Those are your accounts, your contributions, your decision on beneficiaries. Unless they can prove some kind of written agreement, which I'm guessing they can't, they've got nothing. Let them waste their money on legal fees if they want. That's what I thought. Thanks. The next few days were quieter. The lawyer thing seemed to have scared everyone off, or maybe they just exhausted their ammunition. Either way, my phone stopped blowing up quite as much. I focused on work, on Emma, on trying to build a life that didn't revolve around managing other people's feelings about my boundaries. Emma asked about the college funds one evening while we were making dinner together. Mom said you took money away from Tyler and Sophia and everyone, she said quietly, not looking at me while she stirred the pasta sauce. That's not exactly right, I said carefully. I moved the money I'd been saving for them into your college account instead. So you'll have more money for school when you're older. But they don't have money now? They have the same amount they had before I started contributing, which is to say, their parents will need to save for their college like most parents do. Mom said it was mean. I turned off the stove and crouched down so I was at Emma's eye level. Do you remember how you felt at your birthday party? When Mommy and Uncle Ryan made their announcement? She nodded, her eyes getting a little watery. How did that feel? Bad. Really bad. Like everyone was happy about something that made me sad. That's how I felt too. And that's how I've felt a lot around our family lately. Like everyone's happy about things that make me sad, and nobody cares. So I decided I needed to make some changes to take care of myself and you. Does that make sense? She thought about it. I guess so. But I still feel bad for Tyler. He's always nice to me. I feel bad for Tyler too, I admitted. But that doesn't mean I was wrong to make the decision I made. Sometimes grown-up decisions are complicated. She nodded and went back to stirring the sauce. Crisis averted for now. The real turning point came 2 weeks later at Mom's house. She'd called and asked, practically begged, for me to come to Sunday dinner. Said we needed to work this out as a family, and that she couldn't stand seeing everyone torn apart like this. I almost said no, but something made me agree. Maybe I wanted closure. Maybe I wanted to see if anyone would actually acknowledge what they'd done. I showed up alone. Emma was with Claire that weekend, which was probably for the best. Everyone was already there when I arrived. Jessica and her family, Michelle and hers, Mom, and yeah, Ryan and Claire with baby Connor. Of course they were invited. Wouldn't be a family dinner without the homewreckers, right? The atmosphere was immediately tense. Tyler gave me an awkward wave from across the room. The younger kids didn't seem to notice anything was wrong, running around and playing like normal. The adults all looked uncomfortable. Mom gathered everyone in the living room and launched into what was clearly a prepared speech about family, forgiveness, and moving forward. She talked about how she couldn't stand seeing her children estranged, about how life was too short for grudges, about how Connor was part of our family now, and we all needed to accept that. I let her finish. Then I looked around at all of them. I have one question, I said, and I want someone to answer it honestly. What Ryan did, sleeping with my wife while we were married, getting her pregnant, lying to me for months, was that wrong? Silence. Come on, I pressed. Simple question. Was what he did wrong? More silence. People shifted in their seats, looked at each other, looked away from me. Finally, Jessica spoke up. It's not that simple. Yes, it is. Was it wrong? Yes or no? People make mistakes, Michelle offered. That's not an answer. Ryan cleared his throat. Look, I've apologized. No, you haven't. Not once. You've never apologized to me. You've explained. You've justified. You've asked me to move on. But you've never actually said, I'm sorry for what I did to you. He looked genuinely surprised. I thought we were past all that. You thought I'd just get over it? My brother sleeping with my wife? I shook my head. And none of you, not one single person in this room, has ever acknowledged how fucked up that is. You all just wanted me to forgive and forget so you wouldn't have to deal with the awkwardness. Language? Mom said automatically. No, I'm done with this. You want to know why I pulled those college funds? This is why. Because my daughter cried at her own birthday party, and everyone's response was to tell me I was overreacting. Because my family chose a cheater and a betrayer over me, and then expected me to keep paying for the privilege of being disrespected. I stood up. I came here thinking maybe someone would finally get it. But you don't. You never will. So here's how this is going to work. Emma and I are done with family dinners. We're done with holidays. We're done pretending this is functional. If you want a relationship with my daughter, it'll be on my terms, scheduled around her needs, without Ryan or Claire present. Take it or leave it. You can't dictate who we spend time with, Jessica said. You're right. I can't. But I can dictate who Emma and I spend time with. And I choose not to spend it with people who think what happened to me is less important than avoiding uncomfortable conversations. I walked out before anyone could respond. That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, I've gotten a few texts from Jessica and Michelle, half-hearted attempts at reconciliation that mostly amounted to, can't we just move past this? I haven't responded. Tyler texts me occasionally. We're going to grab lunch next week, just the two of us. I'll probably help him with his college applications regardless of everything else, because he's a good kid who doesn't deserve to suffer for his parents' choices. But that's my decision to make, not something owed or expected. Emma seems lighter without the constant family stress. She's seeing a therapist to help process everything, the divorce, the engagement, the family dynamics. The therapist says she's doing well overall, just needs support working through feelings of divided loyalty. As for the money, Emma's college fund is robust. She'll be able to go to any school she gets into without worrying about debt. That feels good. That feels like I'm taking care of my actual responsibilities instead of everyone else's. My sisters have stopped threatening lawsuits, probably because their lawyer told them what mine told me. Mom calls once a week or so, leaving voicemails about how much she misses me, how she hopes I'll reconsider, how family is everything. I don't call back. Ryan and Claire got married last week. Civil ceremony at the courthouse. I know because Emma told me about it after her weekend with Claire. She said it was fine, and that Connor cried through the whole thing. She didn't ask why I wasn't invited, which meant she already knew. People keep asking if I feel guilty about the college funds. The answer is no, not really. I feel sad about losing relationships with my nibblings. Sad that it had to come to this. Sad that my family chose sides so definitively. But guilty about taking back my own money? Number. I'm done setting myself on fire to keep other people warm. I'm done being the dependable one who absorbs everyone's bad behavior without complaint. I'm done sacrificing my dignity so my family can avoid awkward conversations. They can ask Uncle Dad for college money. They can ask Uncle Dad to host their birthday parties. They can ask Uncle Dad to be the bigger person. Because I'm done. Edit. Since people are asking, yes, Emma knows the full story in age-appropriate terms. No, Claire doesn't know about the funds being moved yet because it's none of her business. Yes, my lawyer confirmed this was completely legal. And no, I'm not changing my mind. Edit 2. To everyone saying I'm punishing innocent kids, those kids still have two parents who can provide for them. They have grandparents, aunts, uncles. They'll be fine. My generosity was a gift, not an obligation. When someone treats you like garbage, you're allowed to stop giving them gifts. That's not punishment. That's consequences. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way.